At the time, thriller television was dominated by 90s shows that changed the world, generation-defining shows like The X-Files and Buffy, and they were phenomenal. But they also operated on reliable, structural conventions, which meant any show that tried to be too dark or too ambitious was immediately cancelled and unfairly dismissed. But when you finally revisit these shows, you realize how overlooked they really are. Even though they failed to find an audience in their respective time slots or are just forgotten about today, these 5 TV thrillers offer the unique and unforgettable storytelling the decade had to offer. If you haven't watched these underrated thrillers, now's the time to grow your watch list. Nightmare Cafe, 1992, 1 season, 6 episodes. Nightmare Cafe is the shortest entry on this list, cancelled after only 6 episodes. While it's not one of Wes Craven's best TV shows, the show still feels like a missing link between the Twilight Zone and modern psychological thrillers, and it also stars his longtime collaborator, horror icon Robert Englund. The premise centers on a mysterious, shape-shifting cafe, which only materializes when someone is in a desperate, life-altering crisis. It functions as a cosmic way station where patrons are forced to confront their worst mistakes or meet their true destiny. The show is messy in a nostalgic way. It's certainly uneven, with a few episodes missing the target entirely, but the sheer ambition of this idea alone makes it worth seeking out. Nightmare Cafe is such an imaginative premise that would have been a smash hit as a dark Netflix limited series, but now it serves as one of the best 90s horror series you forgot about. American Gothic, 1995 to 1996, 1 season, 22 episodes. If you loved the small-town horror of shows like Twin Peaks but wish the evil was slightly less ambiguous, then American Gothic is the answer. It's a chilling Southern Gothic thriller centered on young Caleb Temple and the malevolent Sheriff Lucas Buck, who is strongly implied to be the literal devil. American Gothic was executive produced by Sam Raimi, Evil Dead, which is exactly why it was successful in conveying a suffocating atmosphere of dread and suspicion. The show is absolutely dominated by Gary Cole's unsettling performance as Sheriff Buck, who is charmingly sinister in the role. He plays the kind of bad guy who makes your skin crawl by simply leaning in to talk. It ultimately suffered from poor scheduling and network censorship that pushed its dark boundaries, making the final run feel rushed. Despite its cancellation, the first half of the season especially stands out. Sliders, 1995 to 2000, 5 seasons, 88 episodes. It is easy to recommend Sliders for its premise alone. A group of people accidentally open a portal to parallel Earths, each one holding a slightly altered reality. The early seasons were all about low-stakes fun, from visiting worlds where the Soviet Union won, or where San Francisco is run by women, while keeping the core theme simple, finding home. It was the perfect episodic vehicle for 90s sci-fi television. However, any recommendation for Sliders comes with a huge asterisk. The show collapsed after season 2, losing its original voice and premise after moving networks. The later seasons became wildly inconsistent, shifting from high-concept alternate histories to low-budget action horror. If you can treat the first 2 seasons as a pitch-perfect limited series, you'll realize how criminally overlooked and underrated Sliders is. I still think it's worth watching past that, though, just with a nostalgic lens, like you're appreciating an old show you opened from a time capsule. Millennium, 1996 to 1999, 3 seasons, 67 episodes. From Chris Carter, the creator of The X-Files, Millennium always suffered by being compared to its massive contemporary, yet it stands as a far darker, more psychologically dense experience. It follows Frank Black, a former FBI profiler who can essentially channel the minds of serial killers. Where The X-Files was about hope in the unknown, Millennium offered only encroaching, inevitable dread as the year 2000 approached. Frank Black's world is relentlessly grim, dealing almost exclusively with the nastiest corners of human depravity. The series never quite recovered after its second season shifted away from its central themes, but Millennium is still one of the best forgotten horror shows of the 90s, and Lance Henriksen's portrayal of Black stands out as some of the best acting in the show. Erie, Indiana, 1991 to 1993, 1 season, 19 episodes. Erie, Indiana is the outlier here as its primary target audience was much younger, making it closer to a quirky children's adventure. Yet, its demographic didn't make it any less thrilling. This scary coming-of-age show is about 13-year-old Marshall Teller finds his seemingly normal small town is actually the strangest place on Earth, featuring things like Elvis sightings, a town obsessed with Tupperware, and teenagers who never age.